Welcome, damn fam. I am so excited to be hanging out with you today. I am Mac, your community manager, and below me we have the infamous Karel Krombeck. And you may know him as Aranus in our Discord, but we all know him as our lead developer and the creator of Dungeon Alchemist. So he's an incredibly special guest we have here today to help us talk about our latest update, the Treasury, which is launching on August 30th. So really quickly, I wanted to just talk and make sure that you see us, hear us. We're going to do a quick sound and video check, and then I want Karel to introduce himself, and then we will get into it, including talking about rules and whatnot. So do you hear me? Thumbs up, yes, no? Okay, we got a thumbs up. Okay, now Karel, go ahead. Let's make sure they hear and see you.
Do you hear me?
Perfect. No issues this week. I'm so happy. Go
Great.
ahead and introduce yourself, my friend, and we will go after that.
Mac, I already think you did a very good job of introducing me. So I'm Karel. I'm the one of the two original founders of the Dungeon Alchemist project, together with Wim, who showed up here last week. So I'll be answering your more technical questions today. I saw last week's stream as well, and I noticed that there were some questions forwarded to me, so I'll be glad to answer them today.
Fantastic. That is what we like to hear. So I just want to say, everyone, let's be incredibly nice to our special guest. I know you will be. We're always on our best behavior. We're an amazing community. But because there's a lot of people here, there's a lot going on, let's do our best to be courteous to each other and try and, work in a somewhat organized manner. How we're going to do that today is when you have a question, form it by typing question followed by the question in chat. That will cue our moderators to add that question to a live document that me and Karel are watching and able to follow in real time and answer your questions in the order they were received. So we're going to do our best to answer every question we can today, albeit we have a limited time window, so we may not get all of them, okay? The other thing I'd like to point out is Karel has a newborn, a youngling, that is pretty much kind of trying to sleep right above him, and if for some reason the newborn wakes up and is crying, he may have to step away from time to time for a few minutes, and I will be running the show solo, so you'll just have to deal with me, like normal. So,
well, not exactly a newborn, to be honest. She just got two a week or two ago, so.
Okay, well, still a toddler, very young. And,
yeah.
So I'm just kind of forewarning you that there may be some interruptions here and there.
Yeah.
The other thing I'd like to do before we get going is to point out that every 50 viewers we have in the stream, we're going to do a giveaway, i.e. we already hit 78 viewers, so we're going to be doing a giveaway right now. And then if we hit 100, 150, so on. Also, if we happen to hit 2,000 followers, which we're at 1923 right now, we will do an additional bonus giveaway. So just letting you guys know the rules on that. You must be following the stream, and when I start the giveaway, you'll have to type a code in chat. We'll go over it right now, actually. Might as well. Okay. Come on, Mac. Where's the mouse? Let's get that going, and then we can just dive right into all of the fun today. So we've got a lot of interesting stuff to cover, including map tracing, which is actually working much better in my beta build, which, by the way, we are in a beta build still. It's kind of it's a little bit behind the final build, and so things sometimes may be buggy. We might get a crash or two. Things might not be fully functional. So remember that as you're watching today, that, it's not always perfect. So I've got a Dungeon Alchemist Steam key that we're going to be giving away here, and it is a 10-minute giveaway. You know what? Let's make it a 5-minute giveaway to speed things up. And you must be following the stream, and you got to type exclamation giveaway to enter. Ready, set, go. Remember to stick around for those 5 minutes, because if you win, you have to claim the key with exclamation claim in chat. So you don't want to miss out on that. You'll have a small window, like 30 seconds to a minute to claim it, and then it goes automatically to someone else. Okay, let's get into this stream here. Karel, thank you for putting up with the antics of this crazy supportive community. We're already up to 82 viewers. It's going to be insane here today. So, we've talked about our intros, we've done everything, rules. Karel, first off, I just want to personally thank you for finding time. I know it's late where you are, and I know you've been super busy fine-tuning the Treasury and getting it ready for us. I mean, just today alone, you sent me 2 new builds, right? So you are a machine. Honestly, it's crazy. I'll tell him I find something, and then like an hour later, he's like, oh, I patched that. It's fixed. I'm like, oh my gosh, how do you even do this? It's like he's connected to Dungeon Alchemist. Like he's just tendrilled into his computer and understands it. But I would like to just say thank you again for all the hard work you do and for finding time to be with us today. It's I'm so glad you found some time to do so, because it's like I know you're so busy. Anyway,
I'm really glad to be here. I mean, interacting with the community is one of the most fun things about developing Dungeon Alchemist. It's way different from developing a video game where you're like working on something for 4 years and then you release it and you hope you find a community or fans. We're very lucky to already have our fan base that are very passionate about it, and it makes developing it so much more fun. So I do love to show up whenever possible. It's just kind of tricky to make it work with my life.
You know what? And honestly, the way you do it is like this once in a while thing. It's just like such a rare treat. It's perfect. It's amazing. We love having you. Seriously, every single time you can make it, it's amazing. So, Karel, to kind of get rolling in today, the Treasury. You know, it was a big monumental task and undertaking, from what I understand, from what you've told me and what Vim has said. You know, kind of diving into this today, can I ask you, like, what was your favorite part of the development for the Treasury? And what was your least favorite part?
Honestly, this was one of the more grueling development cycles for Dungeon Alchemist updates. So I can't really say that I have favorite things I worked on this time. I'm just kind of glad that it's almost there and that it's almost over, because this one, like as most of you noticed, we had a way longer delay between this update and the previous update than any previous updates, and that's really because I rewrote a lot of the basic object placement systems in Dungeon Alchemist to make them much more logical, because they kind of grew from an early prototype project up until this massive project that it is now, and it really didn't grow. It grew organically, which means that it didn't grow necessarily logically. So we were at a point, at a crossroads, where either I had to do the 3D model import and make it totally impossible to understand for people who are trying to configure their 3D models, or I had to rewrite the basics so that they actually made sense, and that the 3D model import became as frictionless as possible for people who don't know like the inside workings of Dungeon Alchemist. And at some point we decided, all right, we got to bite through this. And we really got to rewrite the core systems to make it user-friendly, to make the model importer user-friendly. So I went on this way too long journey, and I came out on the other end, but it took much longer than I anticipated.
Let's call it a quest, if you will.
Yeah, let's call it a quest. Now, the thing, I guess that's the most fun, is the way the asset importer came together now, because I do feel like, I mean, it's always going to be a little bit complicated, because it's never going to be like it's an advanced power user feature, right? If you want to configure objects, you got to know a little bit about what's going on. But I am pretty proud of the template system that we figured out, which is a way to kind of say, this object is this type of object, and it already configures most of the behavior for you, which makes it really easy to make things like closets or beds and stuff like that, to just kind of make them behave like you expect them to. And that is something that took a long while to figure out for Wim and me, and we're very happy with the result.
Karel, I don't mean to cut you off. The giveaway just wrapped up. Snoo Snoo, Death by Snoo Snoo, congratulations, you won. If you can claim that ticket, exclamation claim. If you can claim that in the next 60 seconds, that code is yours. If not, it's going to be passed to someone else. So type exclamation claim. Claim it? I didn't see it.
He said, woohoo.
Oh, okay, there we go.
And he claimed it.
Death by Snoo Snoo. Congratulations. Always love reading your name. The Futurama reference always gets me. Congratulations, my friend, on winning that digital copy of Dungeon Alchemist. If you give me just a moment, I will send that code to you. Karel, I apologize for interrupting you there. You honestly explaining your work on that was so fantastic. Seriously, it is always a treat to hear your insight and the struggles and things you work on in the background, because like I tell everyone, I only see like through a peephole into the background of what's going on in the workings of Dungeon Alchemist. And then, you know, as we get closer to the launch, I start seeing more and more, you know, it's like, oh, I'm pulling the curtain, you guys pull the curtain back, let me see all this stuff, and it's crazy, because a lot of things I don't even anticipate being a part of Dungeon Alchemist at all, and you add it, and it, like, the importer, from my understanding, it's easier to import with your custom importer than it is to use Unity's importer now, correct?
Oh yeah, and actually, so we already had an importer that we used internally that was super not user friendly, and we called it the building block editor internally because all objects that can be placed are kind of building blocks. That's how it was originally called, and we rewrote the building block editor into the model importer so that our artists can use it themselves. Because we don't want to maintain two tools, right? So we completely dropped the old tool and rewrote a new tool to be powerful enough that we can actually use it ourselves. I think I lost video. Is this normal?
Uh-oh. Hold on. Let's see if we can fix it. It just appeared and came back. We're back. Okay, I don't know why, but it's going to do that sometimes. But if it does, let me know. We'll fix it right away. You know, Mac is a live producer and a streamer and a manager of himself. He has got this all under control, so no worries.
All right.
We can take care of this. Okay, Snoo Snoo, please check your DMs here on Twitch. Let me know if you got that here in chat publicly, and that way we can confirm you got it. We also, oh my gosh, we had 100 and we just jumped up to 200. This is looking crazy and a little suspect, I'm not gonna lie. Let me look at the viewer list, because we just jumped up like 150 viewers in like a second. Wow, that is insane. Honestly, I'm not like, I'm just flabbergasted right now. Is there really that many people in here? A little over 100. It might be taking a moment to update.
Now it's 300. This is weird, right?
That is sus. I only see about 100 in chat right now. I'm gonna watch the viewer number, like, because I can see the viewer list in my bot, and it's showing only. We'll give it a minute. We'll start another one, just because I love you guys and gals so much. But we're gonna see how it goes in just a moment for the other ones, and I'm not trying to be like withholding here. I'm just trying to make sure these giveaways are legit. So while you were talking about the asset importer, I loaded it up and was kind of showing it off in the background. I have a bit of a surprise for you. So I commissioned a little Hendrik alchemist here. He is more of a chibi style Hendrik, as you can see, and wow. he's got the little goggles, and he's just kind of hovering. Oh, I love the little angles you can do on this, by the way. The little top.
Yeah, they're very, very useful for configuring everything.
Oh, especially when you're trying to set up the colliders.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So when you can see at the angles, it makes it very easy to tell where the edges of the object are.
Yeah. That's also I basically asked Wim, how do you actually configure your objects right now in Unity? And I wrote a new system that basically did what Unity did, but like how Wim wanted it to be, instead of how Unity forced it to be. So we made a lot of improvements to it to make it easier to configure the colliders. Still a bit of a hassle, but I mean, that's how it is. Not much you can do about it, but I think it's kind of fun to configure, to be honest.
So that's one of them that I've got here, and here's another one. Him as a fortune teller. The other one just made him into a chibi version of himself instead of the serious one. He's like a little chunky. Anyway, I love Hendrik so much. I think he's an amazing
We
little
all
mascot.
do, we all do.
So I will just point out, if someone is botting us right now, you're really, really ruining the chances of future giveaways. I've been streaming for 10 years. I know how to sniff a bot out like that. So as much as I appreciate you making us look more like big, and it just seems like someone's driving for giveaways, and I don't mean to sound negative here, but the support and the botting we only want to grow organically with our community's support, not with fake numbers. You know what I mean? I'm all about organic growth in our community, and I would much rather grow that way than look sus or fake. You know what I mean? So if there is someone doing that, let me just appeal to your better nature. Let's turn it off. We'll be doing giveaways the whole stream anyway, so it doesn't matter. Someone could be hosting us somewhere. We could be getting a ton of views. I could be wrong. Who knows? TikTok could be blown up. Something could be happening. But at the same time, I just want to make sure we're doing this legitimately,
By the way, as we're looking at the custom importer, there are some questions related to it.
Yeah, let's get into questions actually right now. Sorry, we got a little sidetracked there while I was talking about this chibi. So let me start in the top of the questions from last week, and we'll start going down, okay?
Yeah,
so
sure.
What made you want to bring something like Dungeon Alchemist to life, and where did you get the idea from? This question comes from Jay Rabbit, and this was last week.
That's a question that really should have been asked last week, because that's Wim's brainchild. He came up with the idea.
I feel like we might have covered it, but I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, you can answer it too. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, no, I mean, he came to me with the idea. Wim has always been kind of an idea guy, coming up with all kinds of crazy, wild, usually impossible to realize ideas. And one day he came up with a really good idea, and I joined immediately. I was like, wait, this is actually really, really smart and a really good idea, and it sounds really fun to do as well. So yeah, I followed him. So it's his idea, to be honest.
Well, that's good to know. Honestly, hearing that it sounds cool, like hearing that background information that you guys, and from what I understand, you used to work together on a former project, right? It was the Boa
Boa Bonanza. Yeah.
Boa Bonanza.
Okay. Yeah, it's a puzzle game that I was developing together with another friend, and Wim was the artist for the project. So we hired him back then, and he proposed this Dungeon Alchemist to both of us. And I was the one who was like, all right, I really believe in this. I want to join this adventure. So we went on, the two of us. Yeah.
That is fantastic. Okay, so Sack asked last week. Nope, that one we're not going to cover. That's relative to last week. I can't see that. Okay. Okay, so we're going to skip that one. I know we answered that. Watchtowers and Sacks, actually. So get rid of those, please. Let's see. Sean... are groups of assets able to be saved as prefabs to be used in other maps, or are there plans for that? Elude Yak, congratulations, type claim to get that code. Oh, you did get it. Awesome. That was snappy fast. Okay, congratulations. Sorry, go ahead.
So if I get the question correctly, the question is that can you save groups of assets and then use them in maps and upload the maps to Steam Workshop and have the assets be included?
So basically, I think what someone is hoping for is, let's say you group a bunch of objects together like a beautiful ship, right? With all of the stuff and all the wood, and you made it look really awesome. Could you save that grouping of assets as a prefab so you could copy that to another map really quickly?
Right.
Now,
no.
I will say that I've seen that in a couple other map makers that kind of do that. Do you think that is something Dungeon Alchemist could do in the future?
Absolutely. We actually have this technology available because we use the same ID for the deck tables, for example. So we build a table, and then we put plates on the table and put food on the plates and stuff like that. And then we save the table as what we call a variant. And the variant can then be recalled from the menu just as if it's another object. So this technology is available, and it is something we would like to expose to users at some point in the future, but no real timeline on that yet.
Okay, so variants are really cool. Vim was telling me about those, and I was pleading with him, hey, can I make maps with tons of variants on them and send them to you so we could add more variants? And he's like, I don't know. I'll talk to Karel about it. So now you know, I'm pleading to get my case to allow my, cartography experience to be put to work making variants. I'll decorate tables all day.
Well, this actually can. I think this is a perfectly fine thing to do. It depends. We should probably tell you which objects are kind of viable and which are not, because they're not all suitable for making variants. But it is something I think we could cooperate on in the future. And at some point, we might expose it to the users as well, because it's kind of similar to if there was a request for the ability to upload pre-configured abstract objects to the workshop as well, right?
Yes.
This is something people have been asking.
They've wanted that since abstracts came out. We've only been kind of holding it together on Discord with the subsection there. Yeah. And all they are is a 1024 by a 1024 image. So really, we just need the ability to upload an image that's confined to those constraints, and we'd be done. Yeah. If we could tag it with different types of templates or abstract templates and say, hey, this is the circle, this one's the vertical plane, whatever, be great.
Yeah. Well, so I think this is actually a variant as well, because it's kind of the same idea. It's a pre-configured object. In this case, there's not a plate placed on top of it, but there's an image put on top of it, kind of. So it's the same idea. So both are kind of like supporting, one is supporting the other. So if at some point we add support to the Steam Workshop to upload abstracts, we also add support to upload pre-configured variants, for example.
Nice.
And
that would be amazing.
I do believe we will do this. I just can't say when.
Well, as long as it's on the table, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, so here, Smash Bear asks, approximately how many new assets are included in this new release? I'll let you answer this one, because it is amazing.
Yeah, so the big advantage of me working very long on a new feature is that the artists basically keep making new assets. So I think, I don't know the exact number by heart, but I think it's 630 plus new objects.
So you told me the other day 631 for the Treasury. So unless we've added more.
Yeah, 631. Yeah.
Now,
and then there's a surprise as well waiting on the Steam Workshop. But let's keep that for the rest. No, let's wait a little bit. Let's wait a little bit.
Okay.
Let's show it later.
Okay. Because I did kind of have that up for right now, but we could talk 3D asset import for a little bit and then kind of go to that later. So as you've been talking, I've been kind of showing different assets that I've kind of had made. My wife has been getting into sculpting in the background, and so I asked her, hey, could you make some palisades? Because I'd like to see some more in Dungeon Alchemist, right? And so she made like this one here and a single one so we can kind of do different stacks of them. I also had this build I was making on stream on Mapmaker Monday called the Snemple. I don't know if you've seen that at all in our social posts, but it's a snail temple. So Seisu asked me to build a desert temple, and someone else, I can't remember who, said build a home on top of a snail shell. And so I combined them together into one, and I drew a sandstone cave of like a helix shell on its side, and in the middle I put an abstract of like laying flat as a baby snail shell that's gestating inside of the long dead behemoth snail. So it's kind of crazy. It is your fault, Seisu. It's totally your fault. Anyway, so I had my wife made this statue here, but I want to import an asset on stream so we can kind of walk through the process, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So, one moment here.
So, did you go through it last week?
I did a little bit, but it wasn't fully functional, so parts we didn't cover. And also, I want to go through it more in depth now that you're here, because, I mean, you made this, so you know it top to bottom. Let's see here. Let's try this one. Oh, that's perfect. That's a big boy snail shell. So that is going to be in the middle of the Snemple laying on a pedestal, and people come into the temple and they give offerings to it because their ancestors took refuge in it. I made this whole backstory for it. They took refuge in it when they were in the middle of the desert and a storm came, and they ended up living in it for like a month, and it saved them. And then they moved on, found greater pastures, and now they come back as like a rite of passage. And
it's
then
it's a holy site now.
It's a holy site. It is. And actually, what I would like to do really quickly is I'm gonna just kind of put in how you make this here. So you put in keywords, you give it a name. I'm gonna put snail shell sandstone, and then you just put in a keyword with a comma and a space, and then that's how you give it tags, correct? So the tags,
yeah, correct.
If you search in the object search, these tags help it be found. So everything you associate with it can be found.
It also includes the name, the words in the name automatically, so you don't necessarily need to repeat snail shell sandstone.
Oh, it does? I see. I didn't know that. See, that is something that is good to know. See, that's like why I love having you here. Okay, so I am going to now go over to categories. So under categories, you have a whole bunch. I'm going to put it under animal. I think that... Uh-oh, there we go. And then there's also nature here. You could even put it under food, technically, if you wanted to, you know? And so let's see here. What else do we have that it might work under? We need like a religious section or something like that, you know? Because that's...
I think there is under utility.
Utility.
I do believe that under the utility section, there is a religious.
I see magic.
Maybe under structural.
Let's check. We also need a defense one now because I have all those. I guess traps could work for defense. Huh? Anyway, I'm gonna just go ahead.
Yeah, one more caveat, one more thing. We kind of feel like the utility section, for example, is kind of over getting a little bit too big, so we might split up and reorder the categories in one of the next updates because it's getting a little bit too long.
Honestly, I would be totally fine with that.
Yeah.
Because
does a shell float on water?
I mean, we could have it float on water. You could set it so when you do random size, random rotation. So like when you place a rock in DA currently, it'll rotate it automatically to give it kind of a randomization to make it seem different. The float on water one again is maybe if it's wood or something you would want a raft floating on water, etc.
Yeah. And then that's it. And the tile coverage and rotate point are kind of advanced features. They are explained when you click on them, but I don't think we need to get into those right now. They're related to how objects, when you press Control to snap them to the grid, how they are snapped to the grid.
Gotcha. Why did the you know what? I'm gonna get rid of this block, and then so you could basically add a new collider here. There's a whole bunch, right? So what would you suggest for this? It's kind of cylindrical. Would a cylinder be better than a box?
Definitely a cylinder collider. Yeah.
And then so you take the cylinder and you can stretch it out a little bit. You can look at it from the side. And another thing I recommend doing, make sure your asset isn't totally sunk into the ground because depending on the asset, you want it sitting atop the ground, right? So let's do that. Go back to the collider. You can move the collider back up. Notice how this basically tells Dungeon Alchemist what the size of the object is. And so it won't bump into other objects around it. Unless you have collisions off, of course, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so now we've made the colliders. We've gave it asset categories. We've named it, gave it subcategories. I think basic object is fine for this, but there are other templates, which we covered last week, and I'll just kind of skim over them. Basic object is kind of just everyday object. Flying object would be like a chandelier, I'm assuming, or a lamp or something. Pits sink down in the ground, snaps to grid, or an object.
No. Pits do not sink down in the ground. The thing with pits is that it removes the floor below it. So
it's objects that fix into the floor, and they can't be resized.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Snaps to grid would be your Lego type objects like building block,
Exactly. Yeah.
And then snaps to side would be maybe you want a chair to snap to the wall or a mirror or something. Exactly. Tokens, pretty self-explanatory. Tokens actually are in a different category back here. Instead of being in these, they'll have their own token category, which they show up in the token menu instead of in the object menu.
Yeah.
Then the, wall clipped, these basically make them magnetic so they can snap to corners or back of walls, etc., but also can be in the middle of rooms. And then wall mounted would be like your torches, mirrors, etc.
Yeah.
And other objects you want to wall mount, of course. So I am
Yeah.
going to hurry and save this asset, right? And then what I'm going to do is go back into DA really quickly. And what I would very much like to do is open a map I made. And one moment.
While you do this, I'm gonna quickly answer some
Go
simple
ahead.
questions that people have been asking. So texture animation, will they be a thing? Animating textures, not really. That's not something that's important, but animations are important. So we have some. If you do animations in Blender, they are imported along with the object. Then importing lights, yes, you can put lights into your 3D models and they will be imported. What's also there? Emissive materials are also supported. You won't be getting any music from me this time.
I tried, but because the baby, we don't want to risk it. And also, we don't really want to mess with sound because things get buggy when you start adding more sources.
Yeah.
In the future, we'll maybe just do a fun stream where he could be here and we're just hanging out talking DA instead of a reveal. And it's less, pressure. And we could do that. By the way, I just imported that snail shell. And oh my gosh, this looks so good now. Look at this. I can even match the shell to the orientation. Oh my. So this is the old one, which was an abstract my wife drew by hand.
Right.
And then here is the new one. So, oh my goodness. This is so amazing. In real time, you now see the Snemple upgraded. I love this. You guys really made something special here, okay? And okay, the ability to bring your own art with the abstracts was monumental. It changed Dungeon Alchemist forever, but bringing in your own 3D art, okay, is... I mean, it's really impressive that we have hit this level, especially within Unity, and, it just being able to add this customization, allowing our users to share these assets on the workshop, or just put them in their own personal build, it's really going to change Dungeon Alchemist forever. I don't really
hope so.
I don't really have any other way of saying it, to be honest. It's like, in a very impressive way, is it going to be like that?
The thing is that we do want to make a software that opens as much creativity as possible for our users, and we don't want them to have to wait for official assets if they have the creative skills to build them themselves. And then the next step, of course, is being able to share them with everyone, because that's how you get the big wins, right? The fact that we have a Steam Workshop with thousands of maps, like we now have people literally buying Dungeon Alchemist not to make maps, but just to get access to the massive map database, right?
People have been insane. Yeah. It is insane. And there is over 5,200 maps last I checked. And that took us less than a year to get there. That's like 9-10 months. Yeah. So I bet you in the first 3 months we'll have 3,000 plus 3D assets on the workshop. I'm not even joking. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be flooded, I'm sure. Now, let me do a couple questions really quickly. Let's see here. Okay, so last stream there was some questions related to how a lot of times, you guys end up making something because you just can't find something that works the way you want, or you want a better version of what's available. And a lot of people always ask, hey, can Dungeon Alchemist be work with 3D, with Foundry, with 3D Canvas? What I'm getting at here. 3D export obviously is talked about a lot. We beat it into the ground last stream and about why it doesn't work. However, Vim mentioned that, there might be some kind of VTT Lite features on the horizon where Dungeon Alchemist might be kind of a self-encapsulated tool. Now, not necessarily before we leave early access, maybe after, or maybe one or two features are peppered in here or there, like Fog of War, for instance, has been mentioned in the past.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this? And I mean, you mentioned before that you want Dungeon Alchemist to be the only map-making tool that anyone would need. But would you say that, you know, it might... Would you take that a step further and say it might be the only tabletop tool they'd need?
I would love to, but there's a... I think there's two ways to go about this. Either you commit to going full-on VTT, which means developing all kinds of new systems that to support D&D rule sets, but not only D&D, but also make it as flexible as possible so you can support all kinds of role-playing systems, because you don't want to limit yourself to one. And that's a really big endeavor and not something we're right now working on or working towards or considering actually going towards. But I do think there's a really big part of the role-playing community who don't really care that much for having enforced rule sets or having specific all spells available in a database so that they can automatically deduce the right HP amount whenever a fireball is cast from a certain distance. I'm sure there are people who want that, but a lot of people are kind of in between. They don't really care. They may roll their dice on the table. They don't really roll it digitally anyway, because rolling dice on tables is just more fun. And there might be a space for us in between where we can add a few more features and make Dungeon Alchemist a VTT Lite that works for a lot of people, and also has the advantage of getting the full power of Dungeon Alchemist behind it. I mean, if you have to choose between getting free Fireball Encyclopedia stuff, or just Dungeon Alchemist with Fog of War, and a bunch of measuring features, let's say that, then maybe a lot of people will prefer the 3D, the full 3D immersive experience of Dungeon Alchemist over exporting it to Foundry and flattening it. And I don't think we're that far from reaching that point.
I mean, I don't mean to cut you off here, but you already have people who run their games exclusively
I know.
in Dungeon Alchemist. There's streams that do it. I'm even in a couple of games that kind of use it in tandem, where they first person follow along with a token while we play on like Foundry or Roll20, and then we could see the whole area in first person. It's very nice, actually.
But it is a bit of a pain in the ass, right now, because you kind of have to use tricks to to avoid spoilers for the next area, and that kind of stuff. So you have to be creative, and if we can take that away, then we're already a whole step closer for a lot of people to just stay in Dungeon Alchemist, right? Especially now with the 3D model import, which also breaks open the token game, right? Before this, you were limited to Hero Forge tokens, which are expensive and limited, and now anyone can upload any kind of 3D model and any character and flag it as a token and have people put it in their map. So I do expect a lot of people to focus on that for the 3D model import feature, which will make it also easier for people to just use Dungeon Alchemist as a VTT Lite.
Thank you for that apt explanation, my friend. I appreciate that, boss. So, okay, Zero NGO, you won the giveaway, but you got to claim that in the next 38 seconds. Exclamation claim, or it goes to someone else automatically. By the way, another reason I'm suspicious of this is we have 50 entrants on 1,000 people in this room. So weird that all these people aren't entering or following, and like it just like makes zero sense from from my standpoint. So we're gonna do one more giveaway, and we're gonna cool off the giveaways for a little bit. I feel like I've been very generous by doing 4 already today, and then we're gonna talk Treasury. We're gonna talk Turkey, show you guys some cool stuff, some sneak peeks. And then we are going to continue answering questions. So we're going to start this last giveaway, and then we're going to move on with them for a while, okay? Okay.
In the meantime, I'll answer a few more questions.
Go ahead, please do, while I'm getting this going.
So, what is the recommended file size limit for importing a 3D model? we don't really have one set. What is recommended? That's a really good question. Um, I don't think I would go above 30 megabytes or something, because people will be downloading it. People will be downloading a lot of 3D models, so it does add up. I think 30 megabytes is already kind of stretching it, but it depends on the size, the kind of model you're making, right?
Remember when you make a map with like abstracts, every size of the model, the file of the abstract adds to the file of the map size.
Yeah.
So it's the same with these 3D models. If they are hundreds of megabytes, it's going to make the map that big. I mean, what's
Yeah.
the biggest map you can put on workshop size right now? Like, is there a limit?
I think there is a limit to the workshop items you can upload. I think it's 200 megabytes or something by default. But I don't recommend going up to that size for a 3D model. To be honest, that's also pointless,
massive.
because then you're adding way too much detail. That's not useful for a top-down view, right? And it also ties along with the vertex count recommendation. That's the next question. There really isn't any, because vertex count isn't that much of an issue. But if your vertex count causes you to have a model that's bigger than 20 megabytes or whatever, you should kind of take this into account, I guess. Then you're using too many vertices. Does Mac get commission based on viewer numbers? Wow, I hope
I
not,
wish.
because we're gonna be broke.
I wish. Gosh, I wish. Goodness. I got commissions off of sales even. My goodness. That would be something else. You know what? We need to talk. No, I'm just kidding. Thanks for the idea, everyone. No, I'm totally kidding. Let's see here. Let's see here. We talked about the textures, right?
Yeah. Maybe I'll answer a little bit more questions about how the search function works. So as Mac demonstrated earlier, you kind of have to put in keywords, and it also just searches on the object name. All the objects that you download are placed in one big category right now, so it will become really big. But you can just search for whatever you want to find and that you downloaded, and it should pop up if the name was chosen well or if the keywords are entered properly. And then someone asked if the assets will be downloadable on Steam, and yeah, that's a big part of this whole idea, right? Every asset because you haven't shown that functionality yet, Mac. If you go to the custom model importer and you save a model like the snail, you can actually you have the publish map functionality that allows you the publish asset functionality that allows you to put it up for everyone.
So what you want me to do is go into the importer and show them that, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I will share the updated version of this later. So I'm going to we're going to share Hendrik here really quick. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I've already got him configured. We've got him set up with his name. You know what? Since you told me we don't need all this extra stuff, I'm going to get rid of that. And then I'm going to go to publish. And instead of him being private would be for just yourself, right? You can set it to friends or public for everyone, okay? Everyone's favorite software mascot. Okay, so we're going to upload this. We're going to publish it, okay? This will add it to the workshop just like sharing a map on the workshop. Now is a good time to kind of segue into those other assets, I think, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
If you want to let them know, I'll start loading it up right now.
Yeah. So we have a little surprise for everyone prepared for this update, because not only do we have 631 new Treasury assets, but we also filled up the Steam Workshop with a bunch of science fiction assets that are made by our lovely artists. Because people have been asking for sci-fi so long.
How many assets are there, Karel?
70?
You said 75, I think. Was there, right?
Yeah, 75. Yeah.
And it is growing still a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a Hendrika now somewhere.
There is
And also a fun feature is that you can filter on the left in categories. So if you're looking for kind of chairs or something, you can select
you
the
can search.
category and then.
Okay, let's see here. Let's go to furniture. It's not finding any category sub.
Uh,
That's
it's
not
not.
good.
Oh, you're in your assets.
Oh, I
So you're on.
am. Let's go to browse. I am so
Yeah.
lame. Okay, there's just tables. There we go.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about the tables. Let's look at nature. So, the asset isn't up yet, though. One I just uploaded. I could have sworn I set it to public, right?
Yeah, but there's some very heavy caching on
There it
Steam's
is.
end.
There it is.
So it does take a while for the new asset to propagate to users. There's a new button over there, by the way, that was requested. So if you have an asset and you find it there, there's a place object button to the bottom that just lets you place it immediately.
Perfect. And so that
Before
will
that, you have to
download
find
it. And I was asking you about this earlier. I researched it. It does save it in your Steam like workshop section, in like the Steam library folder in your computer. So wherever your Steam library is set to be on your PC, it will save it in there, and then you can go back. You know, maybe you want to look at the model and edit it yourself or add something to it. You can download it and use it that way.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hurry and place this right here. We got actually, you know what? I had something in mind for this. We talked about these sci-fi assets, right?
Yeah.
One moment here. One moment. I made a little surprise for everyone before the stream. I made a little science outpost. Now let's put our little scientist in here. Let's. Where did I put him? I put him under nature. Animals, right? There he is. Boop. He is hard at work at Science Outpost Delta. Let's put him on a computer here. So, okay, let's do a little tour of the assets. So we've got a little keyboard and a computer. This is damn cool, right? Damn cool. And this is a nice little bonus. Okay, 700 plus total assets in this update. That dwarfs pretty much everything except for the launch, right?
Yeah.
So since I've been with the team, I think the most has been about 600 in a single launch.
Yeah,
So
I think 500 or something, yeah.
Anyway, made this little outpost. Having some fun. Hendrik is hard at work over here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
I'm sure he's...
That is fantastic. I love it. Oh my gosh, this is so perfect. So, okay, let's get into some questions here. Will we be able to include... I don't know what that question is. It seems off. Okay, moving on. Okay, we can talk about this a little bit. I use Dungeon Alchemist all the time to make my maps, and then I export them as images to be used with Above VTT plugin for D&D Beyond. Just curious, are you familiar with Above VTT team, and if there have been talks about collaborating, if any, in any way? Yes. Yes, I actually have been getting to know the Above VTT team very much so the last few months. I reached out to them to start just communications. And, I learned that our maps do work with their stuff a little bit at the time. Our basic, still maps and animated maps worked. And I'd asked them if they knew about UVTT at all. And guess what? They hadn't, so they looked into it, and they immediately started implementing it into their development roadmap. And in June, they added UVTT, which set the stage for us to support them all the better. I had been talking to their team a little bit, and I reached out to Karel, and I said, hey, how would you feel about adding an export option for Above VTT? And he goes, well, what's that? And so I explained it to him. Now, Above VTT is really great because it's free. It's 100% free. It's a browser plugin, and it works with D&D Beyond to a degree. So you can make your character sheets, your campaign in D&D Beyond. You open Above VTT, and then boom, you got your maps. Now, Dungeon Alchemist can now export directly to Above VTT with UVTT support. Concrete Lobotomy, congratulations. I just want to cut that off for just a moment. You need to claim that code in chat. or it will go to someone else. Type exclamation claim, please. You have about a minute to do that. So when you export, the export UVTT is an image with all of the data baked into it, correct, Karel?
Yeah, yeah.
So it will have lighting, line of sight,
Yeah.
walls, windows, doors, and then the tokens you create for your players and above can interact with all that information in real time. I spent hundreds of hours testing all the walls, windows, doors, lights to make sure they would work, because that was the pretty much the guideline you set for me, is we need to make sure everything works. So I tested it all. I'm pretty sure everything works, but it works really well.
Yeah, I agree. So above VTT is officially supported. Yeah.
Now we have official support for above VTT. Sorry for that long-winded explanation there. Okay, we actually already talked about that one last time, so I'm gonna get rid of it. The pits, Dag asks, I assume we'll be able to make big ones? Like import our own big pits?
Yeah, the thing with pits is they're a bit tricky to configure because they have to be a multiple of a tile, right? Because we can't cut half a floor in half. We can't remove half a floor. So your 3D model has to be, for example, 3 times 2 or 2 times 2 or 1 times 1 in terms of size. And if it is, you can just put it as a pit and it will remove the floor below it or the terrain below it, so you can have holes in the ground and put whatever you want in it. It's the same technology we use for downward stairs, for example, or any of the grades that are available in Dungeon Alchemist.
Fantastic.
And to add to the support, because I also already saw a question about supporting floors. Right now, the only object we support in the model importer are normal objects. So in Dungeon Alchemist, if you look behind the scenes, there's a couple of different object types. We have the normal objects, then we have floors, we have walls, we have pillars, and those are different types of objects. And for the model importer, right now we only support normal objects. That is because the other objects are trickier. For example, walls. Walls have to be configured very specifically because we want to support windows to be able to be placed in any type of wall, right? And if you place 2 rooms next to each other, then we can have any type of wall on one side and another type of wall on the other side. So all walls need to be compatible with each other and built in a specific system and specific format so that they're flexible enough to work with everything. And right now, that's not something we managed to get working, not because it's not functional, but simply because it's really hard to make it user-friendly. That's the main challenge here, right? Make people understand what the hell they have to do to import proper walls. So we do want to support this feature in the future, but right now it's just limited to basic objects. But of course, you can make a wall out of a basic object and just kind of place it similar to the abstract objects, right? And same for the floors, you can pretend that it's a floor, but it just doesn't really behave like one. Does that make any sense?
It does to me. I'm sure, you know, it probably goes over some people's heads and some people struggle with it. I think the thing is, you know, it's not going to be a straightforward thing to learn the object importer. It is definitely kind of a power user feature, but Absolutely. It is designed to also have entry-level use. And I also advocated strongly for there being a lot of ease of use in it and, you know, certain things being more straightforward. Because at the end of the day, you want Dungeon Alchemist to be easy, fast, simple, you know, but also give you the ability to grow into it and give you more as you go.
Also, I want to add another comment to that. In terms of ease of use, something we really thought very long about was what happens if someone downloads a 3D model from the Steam Workshop, makes a map with it, then uploads the map to the Steam Workshop, and someone else downloads that map. Like, what's the expected behavior? Because if you download a map with a 3D model that you don't have yourself, there will be missing 3D models in the map, right? Maybe objects are missing, stuff is missing. So we added a lot of functionality to, if you download a map somewhere and there's an object missing, it will give you a menu that says like, hey, there are 4 objects missing that are available on the Steam Workshop, but you haven't downloaded them yet. Do you want to download them? And this is the file size. And then you can just choose whether you want to download it or not. And it's totally up to you. So if it's like a crazy map with 2 gigabytes of extra 3D assets and you're like, I don't really want to download that amount of data right now, you can just refuse and you'll get a map with all the objects missing. Or you can say, all right, bring it on, give it to me, and it'll just download it all, and then you can just look at the map without missing anything.
So to add to that, one thing you guys did that adds a lot of functionality and ease of use is the ability to build collections with these assets. So one of our teammates built a Sci-Fi collection of all the Sci-Fi assets in one conglomerated pack, 74 assets. So you can just download it by clicking download all assets. I'm just noticing though, it would be nice if it showed the entire size here somewhere. So I knew, or maybe, no, it doesn't say it anywhere. So yeah, it would be nice it says total size here or up here maybe. But at least so I knew what I was getting into. But you can download them in mass and save a ton of time. So that's great. Earlier I was downloading them one at a time and Karl's like, you don't have to do that actually. And I was like, oh gosh. Oh my goodness. Okay. My life is a lie. Anyway, so I downloaded them in a mass pack, saved me a ton of time. Okay, let's see. How can we color an STL like Hero Forge with different portion, different color? So there's no coloring or painting in the asset importer. You have to color the asset before you bring it in. So you would need to paint it, in a 3D asset painter of some sort, or you just import an STL, which is a blank kind of slate color, and I'll give an example of that really quickly.
Yeah.
So you can, actually I imported one the other day and I think it's still in here.
I saw the Grobel asking in chat about putting textures on STL assets. And the thing is, that's just not possible because there's no, if you get technical, there's no UV data available on STL files because they're just not made for it. So I don't know if you would upload an image of a rock or whatever, and you would want to imagine you have an STL file, which is just kind of a shape, and you want to stick a rock texture on it. I mean, how do you map it to the rock, to the shape? How does it make sense? We don't have that information.
Realistically, and when you're talking about 3D data, I'd like to point this out to people, is texture is what really gives a 3D object all the beautiful detail and information. So an STL, while it looks like it might have a basic texture, it's just shape. It really is just its shape. And that's all you get with an STL. So it will import as a flat gray, which Vim pointed out is to kind of make it feel like an unpainted mini. And I like that actually a lot. So I'm going to just hurry and put this in as a basic object. And then I will show people how the STLs function as well. Just going to leave the basic box collider. We're going to save it as a basic one. I'll fix it later on my own. Go back into DA here, and we're going to put that shell. So now, instead of these nice painted ones, I have an STL one. Now, our devs were very awesome and included a handful of pre-configured skins, if you will. And there's a bunch of different colors. So you got the flat gray, you can change it to white, black, greens. We even have some metallics in there. So you can give it a little bit of oomph if it's just an STL, but there's only there's a limitation of how many, because these are basically pre-configured, if you will, like templates or skins that have now been made to work and function within DA to this extent. There's not a whole lot to it, but that's all. I mean, and these are great because imagine if you have a bunch of the same token, you can distinguish them with color, or you can use them to apply like, oh, this person's been hit with a cold blast, or this person's poisoned, etc. So it can be little ways to kind of tag and monitor effects or statuses on things. Yes, you do, KO. Yes, you do. Okay, so moving on to questions here. Can the tentacles go in a bottomless pit? The wonderful question. You know what? Let's find out. Where is the bottomless pit? Probably not. I don't think so. I don't think objects. But
yeah.
Tentacle. Let's turn those collisions off. You know what? I'm going to do? I'm going to try a hack. Yes, it can. If you move it on the z-axis
Yeah.
first, then you can put it in the pit, but only then. That is very Cthulhu-esque and terrifying. I'm not gonna lie. That is gonna haunt.
Absolutely terrifying.
That is gonna
Holy.
haunt my dreams for a long while.
Wow. That's nasty. Oh yeah.
So a little bit of trickery, and yes, you can in fact put these tentacles in the nightmare pit. So there you go. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay, it's not a question, but I'm amazed at the train of thoughts and development process you guys have here. Extremely clever and damn respectable. So that's just a compliment from Yodair. Okay, question. Can you add a functionality which connects the walls to outside raised ground so I can make something like a cellar room? I'm told just a moment ago. I'm not sure what they're saying there, but if I understand,
they want the terrain to align to the top of the wall instead of the bottom of the wall, as it does by default.
So it's a cellar. You know, I mean, we can do that manually already. It is a process, but it would be awesome if maybe when you're generating an AI structure, you could say maybe instead of regular or organic, you could put cellar or pit, and then it would sink into the floor automatically.
I think we do plan to add multi-level multi-level maps at some point, which it's on our roadmap for the next couple of updates. So that does tie into that, I guess.
So, let's see, another question here. Any duck assets? I know there was that rubber duck that was on the cover.
Oh, yeah. Rubber duck is definitely coming. I've been looking at this rubber duck for like 4 hours a day for 3 months, because it was my test model for everything in the asset importer. So I will kind of miss it when I'm done with this. So I think I'll put it up on the Steam Workshop for everyone to enjoy.
If so, basically, if he has to suffer with the duck, you have to suffer with the duck.
Oh yeah.
So
oh yeah.
Any plans to make the paintbrush sizes to scale to an even smaller size? Also, could the paintbrushes be different shapes, such as square?
Sure. I think this is something you should put on the upvote, and if it's popular, we'll definitely look at it. I mean, yeah, I'm not against it, but it's not a priority, I think.
Okay, next question. Interesting. Can I reset the full map to a certain point of developing, like a fresh start of the same map and only buildings vanishing, not nature? It would be kind of cool if there was like a turn back time, you know, and it's just like, hey, this is the first stage when it was just the environment.
Because that's called saving. That's called saving the map.
Yeah, just saving the environment at that point. That's just planning ahead. But right now, if you remove a building, the building will leave a flat imprint on the ground, so the ground doesn't go back to where it was. Okay, moving on.
That's because of data. I think there's an interesting question there, pure technically. Is the Linux version cross-compiled from Windows? And yes, it is. It's Unity takes care of that. So it's built. All builds, also the Mac build, is made on Windows on my PC.
Already got rid of that one now. Cool. Will we get imported assets or treasury assets as an object brush? This was kind of covered last stream. So Vim heard you guys' feedback and started making new brushes to incorporate some of the new objects, the fruit and stuff, right away. So that's awesome. Additionally, the new treasure will be a new brush or imported into like additional objects. Like, okay, going into here, I'll just show you. There are more objects or more brush types, more treasure variations. So yes, we're getting updates. And Vim also said that he'd love in the future to give you the ability to create your own custom brushes or palettes of brushes so you can paint sets of objects. So that's on the to-do list in the future for sure. Moving on. Let's see. Since you have chests and cupboards that can be opened, how does that translate to 2D exports like Foundry? Are they still objects with interactions? No. because we don't really have live interactions once it's exported as a flat map. However, you could have it exported as open, or you could do a version of the map where it's open, and so once they've opened it, you can now open a new scene, kind of using something like Monk's active tiles. So once they interact with that cupboard, it immediately loads the new scene where it's open. That would be the way to work around it right now with the stuff given. Okay, let's see here. Are you getting a break after this goes live? Because it seems like you just never stop working.
Oh no, I absolutely do need to take breaks. Otherwise, I crash. I work really hard, but I also do take breaks every now and then. So yes, I will be taking a short break after this this update. It's been a bit too long, this one.
It's been a long grind for sure. I appreciate all your hard work. Oh my gosh. Okay, what is the recommended file size to import a 3D object then? Did you want to keep it to 25 megabytes or less?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Any plans on exporting objects as single tiles? Now this could go in turn to the question we just saw with the cupboards. For example, one tile will open a chest, the second will close it. That would be a nice Foundry option, because you could put tiles on top of maps and they could coordinate with the JSON file and then be a live interactable.
Yeah. So this is something we will look into when we get to the fun with objects strategy goal, because that's kind of part of that. Because the same goes for traps, right? We have no proper way now to kind of export traps into two different states. So we stopped making them because we don't have a real proper way to export them. But even then, we need kind of cooperation from the VTTs, right? Because there needs to be some functionality on their end to make this possible. So tiles in Foundry are definitely an option. But for Roll20, for example, you're kind of gonna have to put up an image and import the image and kind of align it yourself, probably, because there's just not a lot of options there, right?
I will point out with Fantasy Grounds, and I don't mean to cut you off here, but now that they have WebM maps, you can actually do WebM animated tokens too. So we could technically make things like that for objects. So someone can import a single object with the doors opening, or an animated object, and that would just be on top of it as a tile.
True. Interesting. I didn't know that.
So that is a new thing they just added. So that is, along with their animated maps, they have animated tokens and objects and tiles. So you could definitely if we had a tile exporter, say you wanted to export, say, the windmill or something, you would export that by itself. Or maybe you wanted the cupboard as a tile, and then if someone went up and interacted with it, then the tile would appear on top as open. That'd be pretty cool.
There's a bunch of technical issues with that as well that need to be resolved. For example, imagine if you put two chests next to each other. What if you open one and not the other? Like, there are 4 states then, right? Both are closed, one is open, the other is closed. One is closed, the other is open, both are open. Do we export 4 versions, like 4 tiles then? Do we put them all together? Like, you see where this goes? There's kind of a...
Well, what if you just say, hey, I guess, yeah, if they're right next to each other, that makes sense. You could also just select the individual object and say you want to export that, and it would be tied to a coordinate on the map with the JSON, potentially. That's just a thought I'm having at a glance, just thinking about it. Okay.
There's a couple of things to work out, but we'll make it work.
Joker asks, do we have any plans for assets or tokens like dragons or other large monsters? Are we going to be adding any tokens to this update? I know that there are some people in our community that want to import a whole bunch of assets already. I don't know if we'll be adding any tokens to this per se. I do know Vim is added as a token.
Yeah.
And
there's
also,
two new tokens.
There is Hendrik here.
Yeah.
Hendrik of the Pits, our favorite friend. And then I just added 2. I'll put them up on the workshop as tokens so people can have those as well. Where is Vim at? He's under characters here. There he is. Vim just looks so handsome in this.
Yeah. Vim is available and Hendrik is available, but we are kind of counting on our users to put 5 million tokens on our workshop. We're counting on you.
It's all up to you now, guys. The development's in your hands. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's see here. Does it work in the name of the creator who uploads it automatically? Yes. So when you upload your imported assets, you can actually, before you even share them, just keep them as local and they'll only work for you, or you can then publish them as private or shared with friends or public, as we showed earlier. Will the ability to add tags to objects be extended to all objects in the future, so we could personally tag objects so we can easier find them? That would be amazing, actually.
Yeah, I think there
Like
is
an
a bit
advanced
of
panel on an object.
yeah, there is some there are a couple of ways to make finding objects easier. For example, you can add your own tags, but it also would also be interesting to be able to make your own categories. For example, if you're like, all right, I want my own subcategory of tables or whatever, it is something we are looking into. Different ways to make browsing the massive library of objects more convenient, because that's just the thing, right? We're getting at a point where we're like 4,000 plus objects, and finding the one you need just gets more and more difficult, right?
Oh, it needs to be a little bit more divided a little bit better, yes, in the future, for sure, because we are starting to get to a lot of objects.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to actually show everyone the magic lantern while we're talking here. If you want to take a crack at some questions, I'll set that up real quick.
Sure. Blah, blah, blah.
We're going to showcase some objects while we're talking, but the magic lantern is just...
Oh, it's a good question here. The collection, does a collection system also work for map downloads? Not yet, but we do plan to extend it to that as well. So that is definitely something we want to do, but we haven't done it yet.
So,
sorry,
the magic lantern is just so amazing. I had to show it off a little bit. This thing is one of the coolest objects in the update, by far. It is very interactable in that you can put an image into it and it projects it on the wall. You can kind of change the light sources a little bit to give it some oomph. This is so amazing. I love it. Oh my gosh. Yeah, let's set it tonight. That is a brilliant idea. We could put a GIF in this. I would be one happy clam, but I understand the complexities behind that. This is just a brilliant asset, and so in oh my gosh. Like, I can't even fathom, like, there's so much in this. There's so many things at play here, right? Like, not just the asset itself, but the projection, the image programming, like, it seems so complex. I don't even understand what's going on here. Uh-oh, it leaks through. No.
The leak is something that is happening, and it's not really fixable. So it basically projects onto everything that is behind it as well. So it's kind of tricky to place. But that's kind of, we decided, is it worth it? It's worth it. Kind of leaking through it, and we decided that it was.
It's worth it. I wonder if I put something behind it, like another wall, does it block it extra, or does it keep leading?
It will also project on that wall.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So it never stops. You can't block it no matter how much you try. Oh, I guess that tree kind of does it a little bit.
Yeah, you can kind of hide hide it like this a little bit. You have to be creative a bit.
Okay. You know what I would do too? Maybe put like a black smoke on the outside here to kind of... Nope, it won't hide it. Okay, that is just super powerful. It's like a Green Lantern ring. It will surpass the darkest night. And that is pretty cool either way. I think it's an amazing object. I love it. I'm very impressed with it. I actually want to talk a little bit about map tracing, if that's all right with you. Do you want to jump into that?
Absolutely.
So I'm going to start a new map here. And I actually, prior to the stream, I generated a Dungeon map to kind of show you how map tracing works. And if any of you are familiar, Dungeon is an amazing, like, free dungeon and map and generator, and it generates encounters, all sorts of stuff, loot. And it's pretty cool, and at the same time, it gives you a basic kind of blueprint or layout of this, you know, of maybe a dungeon floor plan or a mine or maybe a house or something that you want to use. So kind of moving into that. The map tracing feature, we didn't talk about it last time a bunch because it wasn't fully functional in that build. Much more functional today. Thank you to testing and our lovely lead dev here, who put in a bunch of work this morning, or this evening for him, to get it functional for today's stream. So you have the ability to take your map and insert a trace, which you can then resize the image. And in this case, I'm just going to leave it full size because I want it to be the full size of this map. You can then actually tell it how, you know, transparent it should be. In fact, maybe mid might be good, but a little bit is good to see too, because then you can see through it better when you're tracing later. So if you have a really thick image, it's going to be hard to tell what you're looking at later. Then you import an image just like you would, you know, any DA image. One second here. I'm trying to find file. There it is. So here I've imported a Dungeon map, as you can see, with the kind of tracing layer there. And now I'm going to leave this area. And one thing I'm going to do is just turn on the grid. As you can see, I actually lined this up perfectly. So I took the liberty of counting the Dungeon map from end to end. It was 39 by 39. And I generated the map at 39 by 39. So guess what? It matches up perfectly. So it now is perfectly aligned in the kind of this top-down sitch here, where you can actually then go in and start tracing out your build. So let's say, you know, let's start with, I guess, some alchemist laboratory stuff. Maybe a storage room in the back corner here, right? And we'll generate that. And then I think, let's make this a library, right? And over here, I really like the idea of a laboratory. So we'll put that there. And as you can see here, I am starting to fill in this beautiful map blueprint just like it is laid out, saving you time. Now, I can see people's eyes lighting up. Many of you like to recreate maps from very popular campaigns or modules. Guess what? This will save you a tremendous amount of time in replicating those maps. Caves, mines, anything, okay? Sky's the limit. As long as you have the map as a blueprint to import, you can now use that as a template. Now, further expanding upon this, okay? It's not just a map tracing feature. It's more than that. It's an overlay feature, okay? So you can actually, to a degree, and there are only a handful of included templates, and I'm sure we'll expand this with time, but let's say you want to turn this into like a more mappy looking type thing, or maybe you want to add labels to the rooms, like when you have a master map for yourself to reference as the DM, or maybe you are commissioning making maps for Patreon, you can now label them. This is room, okay, it said 17 there, let's go back into. So I'm gonna put that as, uh-oh, found a bug. Uh-oh, when I start typing, it kicks me out. There we go, okay. So if you type 17, guess what? Now on this, when you later can export this as a flat map with all these imagery on it, and it'll say 17 above it. So you can actually label those and get rid of the trace layer later if you want to even. So you can have a nice clean map where all of these labels are present, or you could say this is storage, you know, or have a number on it and a key to the side with all the information. So the sky's the limit here with what you can do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. I really love the labels. I kind of feel like they add something fun and juicy to the map. Like if you export them with the labels on top of it, it just kind of, I don't know. I like it.
It looks fun. And I hope we add more labels too. More diversity in the label types. The other thing I would like to point out is there is an abstract circle. I hope we'll get more shapes, but you can also import your own, say, map elements this way. Maybe you want to make a dragon for there be dragons here on your ocean or something. You can make custom labels this way as well. Oops, accidentally grabbed that. I do wish we could lock the map layer, though. That would be amazing. But this is a work in progress, and honestly, from the beta last week, it's night and day different, so thank you so much for the effort you put into this. And as you can see, there is so much potential here. Were you able to sort it out with the cave stuff or no?
Yeah, cave should be functional.
Okay, let's take a look at that if we could, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually just, instead, I'm going to make it a cave system. No, wait, we're going to go to caves, and then we'll make it the full solid rock, right? And then my hope is we can trace out in the solid rock now. So as you can see, this here is just a slab of rock that is ready to be carved into to make a cave custom. So let's take that same blueprint from before. Actually, whoops. And then we're gonna import the blueprint. Oh my gosh, perfect! This is amazing. So now you can then take either the cave tool if you wanted to and carve it out by hand, or does the AI draw work now too? Because it wasn't working earlier for me.
You have to put it in a regular room.
Oh,
because it's set as an organic room.
Gotcha. The default is organic. So there we go.
Yeah.
So now this will auto carve into that space. And you know, it gives it that little kind of 3D slant. If you really want to tighten that up, you can go into the terrain brushes. And I love just using the flatten terrain brush. Put it at max strength. And then, oops. We're going to go raise terrain in this case. It didn't flatten to the top. But as you can see, we can then bring those edges in really tight, so it seems like it was perfectly carved. As you get in here, it's very square now instead of slanted. And we can also, because I messed up that cave area here, I can just redraw that back on so the line of sight is back. And now it is perfect. Actually, the redrawing the cave was even faster there. It perfectly seamed to that. So now we have this room at this level that is perfectly carved out. We can start, oh, here, let's add a barracks over here. It just saves you so much time in formatting your dungeons, your mines, everything now. I do wish that when it carved out in this, though, it was kind of form-fitted to the wall instead of the slant, but I understand why it is slanted, so the immersion's better for 3D export. Yeah. So, but either way, it doesn't take long to fill it up, so it's not the end of the world here to just, you know, quickly, boom, fill this in if you like it this way better. And that gives it more like, hey, this was carved into these mountains by hand and then filled in and decorated. I really love this. It's so amazing. Let's add a little hallway in between these, because I think in the mansion, right, there is a hallway. So we can just pop one in there and it'll put some doors in. Love it. Fantastic. So amazing. Let's go take the trace off here. Remove all overlays. We'll go back in. And as you can see, it just looks fantastic. Turn that grid off so we get rid of that weird immersion. Again, Karel, thank you. Quentin, thank you. So much effort put into this, and I'm very happy for this.
This feature was implemented by Quentin, which is the other programmer on the team. So he took the lead on this one, and he did a good job.
It's fantastic, to say the least. I'm very impressed with it.
Now, I had another interesting question here coming in about copyright issues with importing 3D models to the publishing 3D models to the Steam Workshop. There is a built-in report feature on Steam Workshop, and basically, if you submit stuff to the Steam Workshop, you have to adhere. When you first upload a model or upload a map, you get kind of a pop-up that says like you have to accept this license agreement. It's the official Steam license agreement, which also says that you're not allowed to upload stuff that's not yours. We are not going to be actively enforcing this unless people report it, because it's just not doable to go over every object that's uploaded.
Not with our team size, especially.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, reports and stuff are supported on Steam Workshop. People can report objects, and if reports roll in, we'll look at them and we'll deal with them appropriately.
I mean, we already monitor, you know, reports from people, and we take them seriously when they do come in. We've had art reports come in for people, you know, in Discord and stuff, and we've handled it appropriately in the past. Yeah. Albeit sometimes there's some drama that crops up from it, but the thing is if you feel like your copyright's being infringed, let us know. But at the same time, I think you need to understand when you're uploading assets to the workshop, I think to a degree you are kind of allowing Creative Commons use of them in maps. So there is some limitations and things that are added to it when you share an asset. So remember, if you're creating assets custom for your clients or for your commission work, you may want to not share them on the workshop, and or maybe keep them private or shared with friends only, so they're only that way. And honestly, Karel, I could foresee people even making their own custom assets to go with their Dungeon Alchemist maps and be like, hey, here's an asset pack that goes with these maps, custom, you know what I mean? So there are ways to, that there will be people who have them private and sell them, and there will be people who share them publicly. I already know of one person in our community who is committed to uploading the entire SRD, which is, public shared models that Wizards of the Coast says people can use for freely for that. Now, that is a kind of a gray area for sure, and they're doing so at their own risk, but they have committed to do so. So keep that in mind. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, SAC also says like, all right, but he's more thinking about people uploading Mickey Mouse to the Steam Workshop. That is because they accepted the license agreement. It's their risk, not ours. Exactly. We are protected from this risk because we ask people, please sign this agreement before you upload. Please accept it. And the thing is, you're not uploading to our servers. You're uploading to Steam servers. And Steam is a multinational billion-dollar company, and they have to protect their rights as well. So if you upload Disney, Mickey Mouse, and Disney starts throwing a rant about it, it's going to be Steam knocking at your door, not us. And it's their lawyers going to be causing trouble for you. So I wouldn't really recommend it because they're the big guys.
Do not mess
so I wouldn't
with
start fucking with copyright.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay, I know it's not optimized. Will we have the ability to import custom collisions so we can make our own colliders instead of using the ones present?
No. All collisions in Dungeon Alchemist are. I understand the question. So, in a lot of 3D modeling software, you have the option to basically export your mesh as a collider, or something of that kind as a collider, a custom collider that kind of resembles your mesh in a low poly conversion. We don't support that because Dungeon Alchemist only works with box colliders. That's a limitation of how it works. I wrote my own collider system because it needed to work outside of Unity as well. And that's a technical reason why I had to write it. And from the start, I decided to only work with box colliders. That's why we have a pretty elaborate collider configuration editor in the model importer built in. That has some primitives as well, like cylinders and baskets, that cover a lot of the more common weird shapes you want to do. But something you might see missing, for example, is a sphere collider. That's just because it's almost impossible to reproduce a sphere collider with boxes. That's just, it's not really possible. So it's a technical limitation of Dungeon Alchemist, and it's not going to change.
You just need 360 boxes. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I get it. That is a ridiculous amount of work in anything. I mean, even putting a cylinder on its side and rotating a bunch of times to get a sphere, it wouldn't be worth it. It might as well just make it a cylinder, call it a day.
Yeah.
Okay, so will the asset importer allow people to make custom textures and floors? Yes, as you saw the asset importer earlier, there is some floors already. So walls, floors, they would be treated as an abstract tile in this case, which, yes, works to a degree, but they wouldn't work with the AI or anything. Will have to be manually placed.
Yeah.
And each one also of them is their... Go ahead.
Yeah, also someone asked if custom objects are going to be kind of supported by the AI, and that's never really going to happen, I think. Technically, you could hack the AI system and kind of put in your own objects, but it's going to be a lot of like manual JSON file editing and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend going for it, but technically it's possible. But the thing is, we pre-train the AI, so we can't really include new objects on the fly that people upload or download.
I do have kind of a side thought to that. So you mentioned variants earlier that could be potentially programmed.
Yeah.
Are variants similar to the AI in that matter? Or are they more just kind of like pre-configured, a handful of them, and they shift through them?
Yeah. They're a totally different layer. So the AI does use variants. So if you place a table in the AI system and it generates a new room with that table, it will pick one of the variants that are configured for the table, and for each different table, it will pick a different variant. For example, a little detail is that if you have a really big room with 20 tables, it will never pick like the same variant 20 times. It will always pick different ones to make it more varied. But it's a different system. So enabling variants will just make allow people to take their own tables or configure their own.
Sorry, with structural objects, I could see someone making prefabs of like tiny little homes and construction and stuff using that variant method, though, where it could have a bunch of variation between them to a degree. So yes, maybe to that with object variation, but not AI support for sure.
Yeah. Because even if you do variants, you're still building the variants on your own and you're not generating them, right? You might be able to build 5 or 10. Yeah. But it's only going to be the ones randomly selecting the ones that you built yourself. So it's different. But I do see a use for that in people. For example, there are some pretty elaborate variants in there already, like the little park things you can place. They include walls as well. So variants do support walls, and they have bushes and statues. You know which ones I mean, Mac?
Are you talking about when you generate like a garden or something?
Yeah.
Yep.
The things in the middle are variants. You can place them manually, and that kind of stuff is a variant. So would be supported if we would let people make their own variants.
I wanted to point out this amazing addition really quickly. We added one new liquid type, and it's very fitting. It's honey. No, I'm just kidding. It's gold. It's liquid molten gold. Sorry, I got a little sidetracked there, but
it's gonna work super well if you make a Mars landscape.
Ooh.
We could do some really cool alien kind of stuff with that as well. Badlands is also, by the way, super suitable for making like foreign planet Mars landscapes. You already showed it with your map with your little outpost, but Badlands just works so well.
Oh, it's perfect for space. That's why I picked it, because it just it reminds me of Tatooine or any number of space deserts, Dune. I mean, come on, there's like a lot of options there. Let's see. I'm trying to open the science outpost, and we'll add a gold river under it and see how it looks. Okay, so maybe, well, first off, let's give it some kind of foreign lighting here, right? And then we'll take the terrain brush. We're gonna. Oh, you're right. It does look amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Oh my goodness. Karel is always right. That's the motto of today's stream. Goodness.
In the meantime, another question relevant. Are we going to curate a list of high quality assets, because there are going to be shitloads of badly configured ones on the Steam Workshop?
We already
That's also,
that,
I think, we're going to leave that up to the community. People can make collections, and I kind of guess that there are people out there who are going to be like going through the assets and kind of making asset collections of high quality stuff that fits well together. I do believe the asset collection feature is a really important one in this regard.
I would like to add, though, that, I mean, we already kind of have a voting system in place. The most popular downloaded ones, and you add the like button, by the way, to make it more visible. I really love this. Okay, so this is a new feature that it's not in this. On that, it's on objects, not on map. Gotcha. Oh, I already liked it.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go to browse maps, and I'll just search by recent then. So when you look at a new map, you can like it. Before you could click the heart to like it, but now it's much more obvious that you can click something. instead of it just being like, oh, that's tracking how many hearts it has. So
Because we realized that. Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
No, I want you to share your thoughts behind this.
We realized at some point that first we had this thumbs up and thumbs down functionality at the very start of the C workshop, and I didn't really like it because why would you want to thumbs down a map? I mean, either you don't like it and you don't put a thumbs up, or you like. I mean, thumbs down is a bit negative, right? That's kind of like, wow, this map is ugly. I want a thumbs down it now. Just keep it neutral or positive. That was our vibe, so we replaced it by the heart. But we noticed that the amount of interaction of people clicking on it went down substantially because nobody noticed that you could actually click on the heart. It wasn't as obvious as a thumbs up and thumbs down.
The thumbs down might be nice, yeah, as Will points out, to point out buggy or maybe shady maps or objects, but the report feature seems to be more adequate there in that case. Instead of being negative, and I mean, if there is, someone copying, if anything, I would hope people that maybe, like, say, take Hendrik here and upgrade him, add stuff to him, incorporate new things. I wouldn't mind if someone took my stuff, but everybody's different in that regard. Some people get really offended if people take their stuff and re-upload it with changes, So just, I would say you as a user sharing your art, make sure you're careful about what you share and don't share on the workshop. That is really kind of come down to you there. You know what I mean? Okay, moving forward with another question about the animations. Will we have the button to make the animations go forward and then backwards, and the tick on important to make it loop instead?
Mac, I actually want to continue about the voting system.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I apologize.
So we added the like button now because we want engagement on people liking maps to go up. But also, it is indeed so that the rating system, originally we showed the stars, right? We showed like how many stars the map had, and like as SAC correctly mentions, it always stayed at like 3 stars. And that is because of how Steam Workshop works. It's not our design, it's just how Steam implemented it. And basically you need like 20 votes before you can go to 2 or 4 stars, and maybe 100 votes before you can go to 5 stars or 1 star. So it kind of felt like every map remained somewhere in the middle, even if everyone voted positive. So that's another reason why we replaced the star system with thumbs up and thumbs down by a like system with hearts. Because then you immediately see like, all right, I got 30 hearts, 30 likes. That's good, but it's still gonna leave you at like 3 stars at most, even if you got 100% positive likes. So that's why we removed that system, because it did feel like a little bit underwhelming. Like you were like, all right, everyone likes my map. Hooray, I'm still at 3 out of 5 stars. So got rid of that, replaced it by the hearts. And now we're trying to get people to click on the heart more.
With that in mind, too, they were asking if we can curate. I mean, I'm making the Cartomancer every week, and you've given me the option now to add assets to the showcase.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I will be showcasing really cool assets from time to time. In fact, I've kind of done a lot of objects now. I would like to showcase assets for a while, or even make this bigger, do more stuff, instead of just the 3 or 4, things. Yeah. So now we will be able to curate to a degree, maps, objects, and assets. So you can see, hey, maybe we'll have a developer pick each week or something. I'll have Karel or Vim pick one, or myself, and then we can put it in there, and that will be, one of our favorites for the week that was uploaded or something. And then that way there is at least some curation to a degree, but yeah, we're going to rely heavily on the community to do it otherwise. But I have noticed that the maps that are on these, the objects, they tend to be used much more heavily the next week and are very popular on the workshop going forward, so it does help them get a little boost.
And that's our full intention with the Chronicles.
Oh, that's
to put a big spotlight on the community creators who create awesome content, and now they have another avenue to create content, which is new assets. So.
And the thing is the reason you said that is the Cartomancer was a way to highlight maps and things that people don't notice, because there's so many maps going on in the workshop. It's easy to miss amazing ones that just get, because the rating system was somewhat broken. So now, that's why we have these things to showcase things on the side, at least bring them to your attention, tips and tricks. So, and new objects, new assets, etc. So definitely pay attention to Cartomancer. It has a lot of very unique and helpful information in it. Okay, so let's see. Can we go on to the questions again, or did you...
Sure. Go ahead.
We're actually running out of time, so I want to go through as many questions as possible, as quick as possible. We have about 20 minutes left on the stream clock. And if we go a little bit late, that's okay with me, but I don't want to keep you any longer than we have to. So, all about, let's see, Night Vision asks about the animations. Well, we have a button to make the animations go forward. So, I'm assuming like the play pause button that we put on animated objects, is there a way we could program an animated button to something maybe so we could turn off the lights and animations with it, or can we import an animated object?
You can import an animated object, but it will just kind of loop right now. It is a really good suggestion, but it won't make it this update. But it's something we will try to add in future.
Maybe add that on the to-do list or something?
Yeah, so automatically add a button that allows you to play or like pause or play any animation that's important. That's definitely something we want to do in the future.
Okay, so I'm gonna nix that one there. Are there any plans to improve the camera controls? For example, rails, so you can control the shot more or program a shot?
Not immediately. It's not a priority for us right now, to be honest. So the question is, I guess, to pre-program a route to record a movie through, or?
So I also love this idea. So a lot of people use the cinematic camera, for instance, to record like a cutscene or a walkthrough. Problematic being is when you're doing that live and recording it, and I do this a lot because I make our shorts and stuff, our content, I have to record it many times because I'll hit something with a collision or it didn't go exactly the way I want. So, with CG, they'll program a rigging for the camera to follow, like kind of a string that it follows. So it will do that on a set programming timer, so it doesn't, if anything, if we could just set a straight line or a loop or something where it has like a simple basic rigging it could follow, it'd be nice. But, that does sound very complex.
It is very complex, and it's low priority right now, to be honest.
Adding to that, I personally, this is a personal request, would love to see the option to, like a checkbox to improve the recording speed from 30 to 60 FPS if you have a powerful enough system to support it. Because I do a lot of recording, and in first person and cinematic, it tends to, when you're trying to make a 60 FPS trailer, it kind of has problems there. I have to speed up that particular clip. So that's kind of something I would like, but that's just a personal wish list thing there. So, let's see here. Okay, this has been talked about a lot, and we have discussed this on AMAs, the previous stream, so I will answer this. Pistachio asks, have you thought about making a town map or region map maker? So, our very own Karel on an AMA once said that he would like to have Dungeon Alchemist be the only map maker you ever need. Meaning, and this was in a response to a question very similar to this, would you guys consider having Dungeon Alchemist make overworld or world maps? And this was the answer you gave, is you want it to be the only map maker you could ever need. And Vim also said that at some point it would be amazing to add an overworld biome. So when you create a map, it does everything at sort of a scale or a skewed camera, so it looks different. And everything would be much smaller and ranged or distanced. Now, obviously that's way in the distance, probably after, all the stretch goals are done, because that's nothing we ever promised. If it is included, I would say it would be a bonus feature, if anything. So
it's post 1.0. We're not gonna look at that until we're fully released and we delivered all stretch goals. But it is something we do want to do, definitely.
Okay. Any plans to support larger maps? I mean, that is really. I mean, all we could do is fine-tune DA to run smoother, I guess, for bigger maps. So, I mean, right now, that is solely dependent on the power of your computer, basically. Because Go ahead.
There is some optimization work to be done, and I do hope to get to that at some point, especially the initial loading time is getting out of hand again. So I'm going to have to look at that and see if I can speed that up. It's just something that's somewhere on the roadmap.
I'm sure, you know, as each update comes out down the road, it's easier to optimize as things go on, and things get fine-tuned. Okay, okay, this is definitely for you. From Light Inuyasha asks, have you thought about doing more frequent but smaller releases? If that is too cumbersome for the actual development of DA, have you thought of doing more frequent asset releases? Maybe small asset pack releases, and then do quality of life improvements staged separately.
It's a good question. Normally, we do try to do a major update every 2 to 3 months, which is, I feel like, pretty fast. This update took way longer, and that's onto me. That's on me. That's because I underestimated the work needed to simplify the way objects are kind of stored in Dungeon Alchemist, and that simplification turned out to be necessary to make the asset importer work. So we don't want to have this timeline be the normal timeline for the next update. We do want to go back to more regular updates. That being said, going faster than every 2 to 3 months is just not feasible, because usually when we make an update, it's just not like, it's not the artist just making some assets and I'm making a feature. Usually they're kind of intertwined, right? We add a new feature and then the new assets use the new feature. So they can't just make assets in a vacuum, put it out there, and then we then slap the features on a different timeline. No, they're tested together, they're developed together, and they're working together from the start. So releasing quicker, faster asset updates will probably slow down development because it will require more testing. So I think 2 to 3 months is a really nice kind of tempo that we want to go back to.
I would like to add to this that, you know, you did take your first vacation in, what, 2+ years during this development cycle. So a month of the development you were on vacation, which was very well deserved. It was right after Everything Was Lava was released. So technically this was only 4 months of development with all of these amazing features, okay? So putting that into perspective, really not that bad in the grand scheme of things. I think Everything Was Lava was about 4 months as well. So, really quickly, I want to say thank you to the raiders we just had come in. 2 raiders back-to-back, Rev Eldridge and Duriella. We have a combined total of 38 new people in the crowd. That is actually a good indication that we might want to do a giveaway. I don't know how you're feeling. Do you think we could do one more today?
Let's do it.
Let's do it? Okay, we're going to do one more giveaway, and we're going to get that started. While I'm doing that, do you want to just kind of start addressing questions, and I'll get that set up?
I'll go with this last question first. Smash Bear asks, how well is the DA doing in terms of sales financially? And like, I'm not going to get into exact specifics, but we are doing well. So we had a really lucky moment during the Steam Summer Sale. Right before the last Steam Summer Sale, we went viral on TikTok somehow. Like just a couple of TikToks who got like hundreds of thousands of views. And it really worked well with the Steam Summer Sale, because we got all these new people checking out Dungeon Alchemist, discovering it, and then going to Steam, seeing that it's on sale for like 20% off, and just buying it. So we had an absolutely insane Steam Summer Sale, which is really, really welcome, and really helps us kind of to keep doing this properly. So yeah, we're doing fine. We're doing fine. So we're not gonna be going bankrupt in the foreseeable future. So we will keep developing happily.
Good. That's good to hear that we're not on the breach of insolvency.
Yeah.
My job is secure for the time being.
Absolutely.
Let's see here. So, you know, I would like to point out that, there was some coordination on TikTok for some of that virality. I was working a little bit there, but
oh, really?
Yes, but
awesome.
some of it definitely was unexpected for sure. But whatever, nothing, no worries there.
Oh, and one more thing, one more question that people will be very happy for me to answer. Spam Viking asked, will we be able to scale items beyond what is currently without asset scaling hack? And the answer is yes. I'm going to disable the asset scaling hack when you put off collisions, when you turn off collisions, because at that point you're hacking anyway, and there's no reason to put on safety gloves for that feature.
Is this already NDA right now?
I thought it was, and I just tested it, and it doesn't work, so I'll have to look at it. But it will be in there for the next update because it's really easy to change.
That is amazing news. Okay, so just so you heard it here first from the lead developer, okay? And this has been something that I know there's been a lot of pushback from the development team from the beginning about allowing this functionality because you tend to run into issues where you can crash DA or bugs or problems. So kind of use this feature at your own risk. But when you disable collisions in the future, you will be able to infinitely scale an object past its peak. Now, this one is at its peak. When the update comes out, you will be able to supersede that. Now, currently, he's talking about the hack that we use to get around that is people will place an object on top of another object. The top object's at its max size. The object on the bottom, you can just scale it up. That's the rescale trick that everyone's kind of talking about. So that is the current workaround. That will be a thing of the past after this update. That is insane. Oh my gosh.
Absolutely.
Oh my gosh.
Finally.
That is amazing news. Thank you for dropping that bomb. I did not even know that. That is so good. Oh my goodness, Karel. Seriously. What? That is an insane quality of life feature. No way that you didn't tell me that till now. Okay, now I gotta make a video about that soon. Okay, let's see here. Question from Goofy. Can you rename assets downloaded?
No.
Okay.
No.
I would say, though, if you take the asset, re-import it, then you could rename it technically, but yet again, that's bridging into using other people's assets. So...
And you lose a configuration.
That the person who knew what they were doing put it together with. So...
Yeah, I think there is a solution there that we could implement, but it's not going to make this update. And there is the ability to kind of localize an asset you downloaded. For example, if you download an asset and then kind of import it into the custom model importer so that you can make your own version of it, right? Then you don't have to use the trick that you mentioned earlier, Mac, of going to the Steam folder and getting the 3D model file. You can kind of adjust it on your own, but it's not a feature we're currently supporting. So you're saying, next update,
I want to make sure I understand this. You were saying maybe an expanded export menu that would export the 3D files with it? Or
no. I'm saying a functionality that allows you to download a published model, so you can locally change it and make a local version of it.
Got you. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure. Okay. How do you get to the asset uploader? I'll show that right now. So, and I would love a hotkey or a button here, but for now, you go to the Steam Workshop tab and hit Open Asset Importer. And it gives you the option there to load it up. And then you'll see all your local ones that haven't been published yet. On the left, you can delete them. Or if they're published, they're on the Steam Workshop. The only way to delete them at that point is actually go into the Steam browser and delete it from your assets menu.
Actually, no. You can go to the Publish button, and there's a new button there.
Where at?
To the Publish map tab.
Oh my gosh, you listen to me. Oh my gosh, so amazing. Thank you. I wasn't sure if it would make it in. So amazing. Oh gosh, you can update it and everything. So fantastic. Thank you, Karel. Thank you. Okay. Let's see. Can you add keywords for stackable objects so we can search for them all? That would be cool if they were on and they're all in their own category, all the Lego type snappable stackables. Kind of like maybe had their own sub tag on each of them, but that would have to be manually added to each of them, right?
Yeah.
Like stackable is one of their tags, something. Okay.
What's stackable? You mean the platforms?
So we have all those structural objects, right?
And
there's a bunch of them that snap together like the L word, like Lego. Yeah. And if you hold shift and just keep, you can stack them up. It would be cool if we had a category that was just if you, all of these had a tag for stackable and maybe even a subcategory for stackable. So if you searched, it would find it, or stack, it would find it. That way it's tagged.
Try platform. Try platform.
It's a good amount of them, but
it's
there's
got
a
all
lot
of them. But yeah, there's a lot of other stuff as well in there, I guess.
Anyway, that's a good suggestion, though. I would recommend maybe adding that to the upvote or something.
Yeah, agreed.
So we covered this a little bit earlier, Dawn, but I will cover it again. There is one new liquid type being added to this. There's no new biome types, but the liquid type being added is the Gold River, or the Honey River, you know? And as Karel aptly pointed out earlier, it looks very alien and interesting. And here we've kind of set this up as a space outpost. Oop, no, got rid of the filter. So now it kind of just looks like, you know, like a weird molten river, or maybe just like a biologic something, you know, living in that. I have no idea. It looks like something from Avatar right now, if I'm not lying. So that is definitely a new liquid type available. Okay, is this sci-fi map sample available in the workshop? No. When I'm done with it, I will upload it. I plan to upload it and share it, for sure. I will kind of add more to it and then share it. I made this morning before the stream. I was going to do this yesterday, but Mac was really big dumb, and he bumped his head on a rusty nail and had to go to the doctor and get a tetanus shot yesterday. So half my day was wasted at the doctor's office. Okay, is there a placeholder object? Like missing object X goes here, missing object Y goes here. What do you mean, for like puzzles or something?
Yeah, no. I think it is because the question was, if you download a map that has a 3D model that you don't have, it gives you a prompt that says, "Do you want to download it?" And if you say no, does it kind of show a placeholder asset? And we chose not to, because you don't really see the point at that point. If you refuse, you don't want it, right?
You just know what you lost, and now you got to re-download it again.
Yeah.
However, maybe the option to go back if they re-download it do they get the prompt again if they re-download the map or reopen the map?
You always get the prompt again.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Okay, so here's the thing. We are down to the nitty-gritty in time here, and I'm going to try and fly through as many of these questions as quickly as possible. Okay? Let's see here. Did the hooded statue get the modifications that were talked about? Ooh, new liquids, right? Wasn't there a statue that had lava, and it has more liquid types, if I'm not mistaken? No, there's not any. Oh, I thought Vim was going to add some more. I swear he talked about it.
You should poke him about it. Maybe he forgot.
I will ask him about it, for sure. Okay. Since we have a bottomless pit, is there a new asset for floors to make any lower level appear to be bottomless? Just draw a bottomless pit in that room, or use an abstract that's dark. Yeah. I mean, I've shown examples of this many times in the streams, but I will show in one of my maps that I just love to show off every stream, no matter what, is my cave, my mine. And there's a great example of how you can make like a bottomless or a dark pit below. I just dug the hole and I filled it with black smoke. Other people have used black abstracts. So as you can see below here, this looks like a bottomless mining pit there. And then over here, there's two more. This one actually, uh-oh, the rope got messed up. The poles are gone. I think the pole connecting, there was a pole here and one there, and now it's not anymore. I used connected poles to make a rope. I think the update might have messed it up a little bit, or there's just there's too much range between them. Anyway, there used to be a rope going down there, so it looked like someone crawled into the darkness, you know, belayed themselves into it. Anyway, so that is how you would do that. Moving on. Okay. Could the magic lantern be made invisible? It would be really help with creating some neat scenes. That is a good suggestion. I mean, it would be cool to make almost any object invisible, but also I mean, challenging. How do you find it after? I guess just kind of clicking around, hoping.
And I mean, if you disable the magic lantern, can't you just use an abstract wall and put the image on there?
I think what he's meaning is making the lantern itself invisible, and it's just projecting the image. So there's no object or asset and just a projected image. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it'd be just a free-floating, you know, projection, a hologram, Scooby-Doo style.
Yeah.
Okay, so is there, Seisu asks, is there a way to have labels with workshop support? Meaning we could create custom labels and import them to the workshop? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about these labels, Seisu? Or do you mean in the workshop add labels to the individual objects? Clarify. While we're waiting on that, what kind of images can be used for trace maps? I know PNG works for sure. Do JPEGs work?
Yeah, JPEGs and PNGs.
That's it?
Transparency as usual. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What kind... Okay, let's see. Question for Karel. Has your use of AI as a tool concept itself developed since the start of DA?
Well, the AI we use for Dungeon Alchemist is kind of old school AI, right? Because we were doing this project before DALI and ChatGPT and all this stuff came out. So we're doing the AI as it was done 10 years ago, not as it is done right now with machine learning and large language models and stuff like that. Now, I do use ChatGPT regularly while I'm working. For example, if anyone here is a programmer, I'm sure you're familiar with Git or JIT. I don't know how it's pronounced in English.
Git.
And I'm sure all of you have at some point screwed your Git repository up in such a way that you have no idea how to get out of this mess, because it kept throwing random errors about not being able to push because the history was out of sync with the fucking server and stuff like that. So Git is awesome when it works. Sorry, Git is awesome when it works, and it's a nightmare when it doesn't. Git like GIT. It's
GitHub is what you're talking about, right?
GitHub is a website hosting repositories or source repositories for projects.
Gotcha.
So Dungeon Alchemist is kind of it's called a repository. It contains everything that is used in Dungeon Alchemist: 3D models, image files, code, the Unity project. And a few days ago, I did something wrong and I lost hours and hours trying to figure it out. And I just asked ChatGPT at some point, like, dude, how do I get out of this mess? Can you help me? And it was like, all right, type these 4 commands and you're done. And I was like, let's try this, copy paste, and it just worked.
Oh my gosh. You know, I love ChatGPT as a tool. I'm glad to hear you use it regularly, because I love using it all the time in my personal life and for work to help me get inspired for writing prompts and stuff like that. It's a great tool. So anyway, okay, more questions here. Let's try and get these last ones and we'll be done. No more questions though. No more questions. Please do not add any more, Seisu, okay? So he refined his question. Can we have labels as its own workshop category so people can add custom labels that people can download?
Kind of tricky, because you need the interaction with the fonts, right? You'd also have to upload a font and upload the font size and stuff like that to make it work.
What about Google Fonts?
Yeah, so it's tricky. It's not gonna happen anytime soon.
Okay. Okay, so those 2 questions are gone. Okay, with aspirations for VTT Lite using DA, are there any plans to create performance non-edit modes that loads only the bare minimum of what's needed for a specific map? That's actually really smart.
Yeah, also I think if you are using it as a VTT, you don't necessarily want to be able to drag objects around, except for tokens and stuff like that, because you tend to accidentally drag stuff around that you don't want to. So I definitely think we need some kind of lock or play mode when we go for the Lite VTT thing. So yeah, we definitely need a play mode.
You don't want to click on things and ruin interaction. You don't want to accidentally unselect things, move things. So yes, that's very smart. That's clever.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's see here. I'm not sure if this has been asked before, but is there any plan to create an invisible light source floating tiny candles work? But it's a bit of hassle, workaround, a bit of invisible light source would be fantastic to help light areas that needed it without plonking a big lantern or similar down. I agree with this, and in tandem, we've talked about having a moving light source with the tokens. I think those 2 in tandem would be great features. A light source that is either invisible and, it's not invisible to you as the creator of the map, but when it exports, it's an invisible light source. And
it is absolutely something that we could add. We're not adding it in this update, but honestly, it's trivial to do in Blender. You just make a 3D model that's empty, add a light to it, export it, import it in Dungeon Alchemist, put it on the Steam Workshop, and bam, you have what you asked for. So
bang, boom.
If anyone is gonna probably do it within the first week, and if not, you can do it yourself pretty easily, even without any 3D modeling knowledge. So you don't have to wait for us anymore to do that.
If we download a lot of assets and find out that our loading gets clunky, will we be able to remove them? I would love to know this as well, because I've already started to notice some slag in just this menu.
Yeah. You can unsubscribe from any asset, and it will be removed the next time you reboot Dungeon
So
Alchemist.
if you just go to subbed assets, like so, click on it, unsubscribe here. Maybe if we could highlight that, make it more visible, but yes, then it's done. And now, as you can see, I could just subscribe and download again if I wanted to.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh-oh, I'm gonna get a crash, most likely. First crash of the stream, not bad, actually. Not bad. Okay. What has, Remy asks, what has been your favorite user-suggested features, released or planned?
That's a big question. I have absolutely no idea at this point.
I know you've told me that you, and I am sorry to interrupt you here while you think for a second, you said that this community has driven the creativity and growth of Dungeon Alchemist to new heights that you never anticipated. Absolutely. Like, there's been things that have been suggested and added, and you're like, well, wait, why do they want that? I know a lot of times I'll bring a pitch of a suggestion to you, and you're like, well, why would you want that? And when I say it to you, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of these features over time have developed into these very core fundamental features, like the cinematic camera or first person view. I remember telling you about that initially. And
exactly, that's the one I wanted to point out. While you were saying it, the cinematic mode with that allows you to make like atmospheric shots or like trailers for your players. That might be my favorite feature that came from the community that we never anticipated before ourselves, because it's just so nice to make cool screenshots, but even like small like trailers of the next castle or whatever you're gonna enter with your party. I mean, a lot of people get really creative with it, and I absolutely love it.
Okay, next question. Did you expect all the misuse of assets that we all developed over the last year or so?
Absolutely. Absolutely, but you keep surprising me. Like, I'm happy that there are now official tentacles, because the first time I saw the map with all the tentacles in it, I really had to ask.
You're like, wait, where did that come? I had to ask that too. Okay.
Yeah, like where did it looked so much like tentacles.
I remember opening the map on stream being like, okay, wait, we have tentacles? I didn't know that. And I clicked on it, and I had to see the object name from the tooltip first to be like, oh, it's the dragon skull. Dragon skull. That's clever. It really is.
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing.
So Dirty Rollers is asking this yet again. He's going to ask it until it's added, I'm sure. He asks, is there a lock asset button in this update?
No, but we should add it. I think we should.
In this update or in the future?
No, not in this update. But...
Let's clarify here.
Yeah, update is coming out in 3 days. So let's not add big features at this point.
I think we're only in bug busting now, not feature adding at this point. Exactly. So, okay. So, will we be able to rotate the subjects on all access? I've seen something similar on the roadmap, but wasn't sure it's what it's meant. I believe in Fun with Objects is when we'll add more functionality like that. Yeah.
This is not on an immediate roadmap. It's coming up in a few updates, maybe, but we can't promise anything because that's a really, really difficult feature.
So
the mirroring, that's something that's going to happen. The rotating around different axes is a really tricky feature because it breaks the colliders a little bit. So I can't promise anything in that regard.
Okay, moving on. That actually, both of those kind of were covered in the same answer there by Night Vision. Okay. Any special effects make this release? I actually wasn't aware of any.
I don't think so. We haven't been focusing on that.
I
Now.
think Magic will probably have a lot because
Oh yeah,
Magic, you know. So
absolutely.
Treasury, really the only one I feel like that would have been nice is some like shiny to put on gold or attract stuff to it, you know. So it like is like a quest marker almost. It's shiny and draws attention to it.
Yeah,
But I will
some
point out we
sparks.
have an object that does that already. So if you go to Magic here, you have these lovely little magic orbs, and you can put them on almost anything to draw attention to them currently. I wish they were in effects on their own, but anyway, throwing that out there.
Oh, and by the way, you just scrolled past my very favorite object of this entire update, the gelatinous cube.
The slime cube.
The slime cube. Oh, I love it so much. It's so glorious.
We can't call it a gelatinous cube here.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. The gelatinous slime cube. Oh, look at it being glorious. Juicy,
I love
slimy.
all the different colors.
Yeah, they're all awesome. Even the black one is
and the best part
glorious.
is you can actually kind of see through it. I've noticed today tokens don't want to place initially. They kind of get sticky. Like even with object collisions off. Oh, but yeah, you can kind of see the rail behind it. Look at it right there. Love it. Fantastic. Okay. You know what? I think that's all the questions. Karel, I just want to say thank you so much for giving us so much of your time today. I know you've been incredibly busy bug busting and dealing with all the stuff, you know, in the last minute up to release. Again, thank you so much for your time, your insight, your knowledge, your experience, and just this treasure of a gem you've made with Dungeon Alchemist. It's such an amazing product, and I'm so glad to be a part of the team. I'm totally not kissing your ass right now. I mean it in every aspect. But with that in mind, I want to say thank you to our stream. Thank you, Damn Fam, for making this a very successful and fun reveal stream. Thank you so much for participating, for asking questions, for lurking, for being supportive of our dev team, supportive of, you know, our community initiatives, etc. Karel, I'd like to give you a moment to say goodbye as well, if you'd like to.
Didn't we just break the viewer record by 1,000 people as well?
I'll be honest, we've never had 1,000 viewers before today. So the highest we've had was 600, and it was a little burst into 600, and then it went down into like 100 immediately. Prior to this, the most solid viewer average we've held was about 250 for about 3 hours. So this entire stream, we've been, after we had that huge burst of views, we've been over 1,000 views the entire time. It's been crazy. Very, very supportive, amazing stream today. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
To end that, thanks everyone. Thanks, Mac, for organizing this stream and asking me patiently every time if I would want to come on. And
oh my gosh, I asked him so many times.
I appreciate your patience, and I do like to come on, so I enjoyed this a lot. Thanks everyone, and I'll be back at some point.
Cool. So I am going to just quickly here, we're going to do a quick ad before we wrap up the stream today. And again, thank you so much everyone for being here. Again, my name is Mac. I am the community manager. Below me, we have Karel, the lead developer for Dungeon Alchemist. The next update for Dungeon Alchemist, the Treasury, is launching on August 30th, so stay tuned. It's just around the corner. And yeah, over the next few days, you will see some teasers, more information revealed on our socials, so make sure you follow us on our various socials if you're not already. I know Seisu dropped all the links moments ago, so make sure you check that out. Other than that, Mapmaker Monday will not be happening this week, but I will be doing a stream leading up to the launch day. So I'll be up late and whatever time it is, we'll make that happen. We'll give more information as we get closer to that stream. Thank you everyone for making this stream so successful today. Let's hurry and run that ad break and then we will wrap it up.
You stand before the long dark road to the fabled realm of Doyak-Ta, and before
What do we see?
I don't know, a goblin.
I kill him!
But before she does, I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to know the goblin's name.
Hi, my name is Woblin.
Where do you live there, Woblin?
I don't think that's relevant.
Well, but I, Gilliam of Firth, demand to seek the goblin's abode.
Clever. Find family. Kill entire bloodline. I like it.
Seriously, we're doing this? Okay, well, won't be needing that anymore, will I?
Ever get caught by your players with your pants down? Dungeon Alchemist lets you create wonderful maps for any encounter in seconds.
Oh, Woblin. That's a very impressive cheese collection you've got there.
Yeah, it is quite impressive, yes. But you know what's more impressive? This map I have
To the fabled realm of Goyak-Ta. Please take it and leave. Close the door behind you.
Mr. Woblin, I cannot help but notice that you have a secret tunnel underneath your cabinet. Care to explain?
Download Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map maker, on Steam today.
All right, everyone. Thank you again for being a part of this amazing Part 2 reveal stream of the Treasury. Like I said, the Treasury launches August 30th, so stay tuned to our socials, our Discord, etc. for more information as it becomes available. And we'll see you next time. I give a damn. Out.